After finishing episode 8 of WandaVision, I've been sitting here thinking about how are they going to end this show next week, because as they answer questions, they raise even more questions. So, where's the show even going? How are they going to directly tie into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man No Way Home? How are they going to do it? I'm Chainsaw Reacts, and this is my 5 theories that I've been thinking about over the last couple of hours after watching episode 8 of WandaVision, and let's go through them and see, are these going to come true? Possibly not. I'll probably be wrong because, as we've known with WandaVision, that a lot of theories come out as you're watching the show and they debunk a lot of them, but then at times there is confirmation, so maybe one of these will be right. Who knows? Let's get into it. The first theory I want to talk about, I think, is the most obvious one, and that is that Wanda will become the Scarlet Witch within the season finale of WandaVision. Like I said, it's the most obvious one. At the end of episode 8, as we know, Agatha Harkness says,
"This is chaos magic, Wanda. And that makes you the Scarlet Witch."
Now, for the longest time, we've understood, or at least it's been theorized and rumored, that maybe Marvel didn't have the rights to call her Scarlet Witch due to some sort of copyright issue. Well, it seems either that has been fixed or it was never planned early on to call her Scarlet Witch. We knew that's the character she was playing, but they never called her that until right now in this moment. She is now called the Scarlet Witch by Agatha Harkness. Now, what does this mean for the character? Well, we saw in that brief little, basically, Christmas Carol-esque thing that Agatha was putting Wanda through, that as she was pulling the Mind Stone to her from Loki's scepter, and then she had the Mind Stone basically was infusing with her and basically making her more powerful, she saw a brief, and it was very hard to see, glimpse of her as the Scarlet Witch with a new suit, and they've been teasing that with the posters. We've seen bits and pieces of a new suit, and she will become the Scarlet Witch. Now, what does this mean for moving forward within the MCU? Well, I mean, this is clearly meaning that either she becomes the Scarlet Witch in the season finale of WandaVision, or she'll become the Scarlet Witch officially within Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But I believe it would already happened before she actually transitions over to that film. Because with my other predictions I believe it all will tie into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So her becoming Scarlet Witch would make sense next episode. Especially the fact that Agatha said it at the end of episode 8. Because that basically says, this is who you are, and you're using this to create this reality, and creating vision from basically her own powers, and creating this whole reality of the Hex from her own powers because of the Mind Stone. So it's very interesting, and I really hope the Scarlet Witch will be born within the season finale of WandaVision next week. We'll have to wait and see, but here's hoping. Theory number 2. The Hex will explode, causing major effects for the MCU moving forward. Now, this has been theorized a lot, but I do believe Agatha will be involved somehow in this explosion of the Hex. Now, what I mean by this is at the end of episode 8, as I mentioned in the first theory, Agatha said to Wanda that you are the Scarlet Witch. She also said, you have chaos magic. This is chaos magic. And at the beginning of episode 8, Agatha was charged with using the darkest of magic, or basically performing the darkest of magic. And I believe Agatha will try to stop Wanda from keeping the Hex going, or something will happen to where they end up fighting, which I think is a pretty good theory, Agatha versus Wanda, and that will cause a ripple effect where the Hex will explode in some way and send a ripple effect throughout the Earth, possibly creating mutants or characters similar to Photon, which I'll be mentioning more into my third theory about Monica not being the only character created by the Hex. But I think the Hex will explode overall, and this will erase the vision that Wanda created at the beginning of the Hex being born. And I believe this will, in general, cause a lot of problems moving forward where things are out of whack. And maybe this is where Doctor Strange comes into the mix at the end of the episode, as it's been theorized for quite some time. So I believe the Hex will explode, major effects, as it's been stated all over, but I think Agatha will be involved somehow in the process of this, not by her own choosing, but by them trying to fight it out, and something happens to the reality that Wanda has built. Theory number 3, and I briefly mentioned this in my second theory, is that Photon Monica won't be the only character created by the Hex. Now, I don't mean by if the Hex explodes or is destroyed that this will create more characters. I mean the people that are already within the Hex itself in terms of citizens of Westview. I believe some of them will be permanently changed because of what Wanda has done to Westview. Now, of course, with Monica, it was a little bit different. She entered and exited the Hex multiple times, but I believe that the entire town of Westview and the citizens there, I think, will be affected in some sort of way. Does this mean that a character or a number of characters will be created specifically because of this? I do believe so. But if the Hex explodes and causes a ripple effect across the Earth, I believe that will have a different effect entirely than just the citizens within the Hex itself in Westview. We'll have to wait and see on that, but I think that's what they're hinting at, or at least if it's just Monica who gets affected by the Hex in this way, and that if it does indeed explode the Hex and that creates more people, then that's a different scenario entirely. But if that's the case for Photon, that's pretty cool that we got a new hero within the world of the MCU because of the Hex, because of Wanda's doing. But I do believe this is not the only person, and that maybe it won't even be revealed in the next episode, in the finale. It'll be revealed sometime down the road. This person lived in Westview, and due to the Hex and everything going on, they were permanently changed for some reason, and now they're this character. Good or bad? We'll have to wait and see. Theory number 4. White Vision won't die. Or, possibly, he'll sacrifice himself for Wanda. Whichever one, honestly, I think will happen here for the character. Now, I'm really curious to see how Wanda is going to respond to seeing the real Vision as White Vision, as he was introduced, of course, in the Season 8 mid-season credits scene. But I do believe either White Vision won't die and he'll be around after the events of WandaVision, and that may tie into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I'm not really sure. But I also have a theory that he will somehow break from whatever way he's been basically rebuilt by S.W.O.R.D., and he'll sacrifice himself in some sort of way for Wanda. Maybe Agatha is about to use some sort of spell that will kill Wanda or do something very damaging, and he sacrifices himself for Wanda. I'm not really sure, but I'm really curious about how they're going to handle the White Vision, because they're really setting him up to potentially be a villain in the next episode to really fight against Wanda. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm glad this was a big surprise, because I was blown away seeing it for the first time. And there's been rumors and stuff for a while that they were going to be doing White Vision in the movies at some point. But now we're getting White Vision within the MCU. It's really exciting. But if I have to choose between sacrificing himself or he won't die ultimately and he's still going to be around past the events of WandaVision, I'm probably going to stick with he might sacrifice himself. We might not see him for that long, but I do believe that it's going to be interesting nonetheless to see him on screen. And I'm excited to see what they do. So we'll see. My 5th and final theory is this. Agatha uses her dark magic to open the Nexus. Now, I know it's been theorized for a while that people think that Wanda is going to be the one to actually open the portal, the Nexus, into the multiverse. And we actually had a commercial involving Nexus. I think they were Nexus pills, I believe. But regardless, the Nexus will be open, and I believe Agatha is going to be the one to do it. They focused heavily in episode 8 at the beginning during the Salem trial back in the 1600s or whatever that time period was. I think it was 1690 something for Agatha, and she was accused of using the darkest of magic. Now, we don't know to the full extent of that dark magic. I believe Agatha will use her abilities to open the Nexus in some sort of way, creating the portal to unlimited realities and just creating chaos, essentially. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe Wanda will be end up doing that. Maybe Agatha and Wanda fighting, as I predicted, the Hex will explode because of their fight. Maybe Agatha and Wanda fighting with the dark magic and chaos magic, that will create the portal that opens the Nexus into the multiverse. Regardless, I think Agatha will be involved in some sort of way, but I do believe her dark magic. They focused heavily on what people theorize as the Darkhold book. People also think that maybe it's a book that is possibly found in Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange has a lot of access to these type of spell books, and maybe that's where Agatha got hers. I have a lot of questions about that. I mean, there was a reason why they showed that, specifically for Agatha. Why they showed her basically taking down all those other witches with her dark magic. There's a reason why. So it's either opening the Nexus potentially, maybe it's bringing forth Mephisto, Nightmare. There's a lot of theories on that, but I'm going to stick with her opening the Nexus in some sort of way, or at least she's involved in some sort of way of opening the Nexus into the multiverse. there you have it, guys. Those are my 5 theories for WandaVision leading into the season finale next week. Now, there's been a lot of people talking and questioning if there's going to be a season 2 of WandaVision. I believe the way the show is set up, I don't think there's going to be a season 2. However, I do think a spinoff of sorts will happen. I do believe there's going to be a Scarlet Witch show taking place after the events of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man No Way Home. However, they're connected to that film as well. I do believe a Scarlet Witch-centric show will be happening, or maybe a film. Who knows? But I think that's what they're going to be doing, where they're going to keep around Wanda, Scarlet Witch, as much as possible. So I do believe we'll get a spin-off in a sense where it's just focusing on Wanda herself. So that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed my theories. What theories do you have for WandaVision leading into the season finale? Do you have any predictions? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think the show's going to end badly, on a good note? Whatever thoughts you have, let me know in the comment section below, guys. I will talk to you guys soon. Peace out.